Hey guys, MG here. MG Covers want to do a new coaching video. We talk about line movement, how to analyze line movement, talk a little bit about reverse line movement. We've heard that buzzword a lot. I'm going to explain what it is, show you some examples of it, and show you how you can use line movement to improve your handicapping. First off, the way I look at line movement, I will not take line movement and base my whole entire handicapping around line movement. That's not the correct way to do it. Again, like I've always said, hate to sound repetitive, there's two parts of handicapping. The objective side, which is a stat model, creating on lines. And then you have the subjective side, which is what I call situational angles. Line movement falls into the situational angle category. So let's look at this week's games for NFL, and I'm just going to show you some basic line movement and how to approach this. Now, if you look, I'm at sportsbookreview.com, and you just click on NFL odds, and this pulls up. So first off, I want to show you what this looks like when a line opens up. So this example here, you can see 66. Now, when it says wagers, this means 66% of the tickets from all of these offshore books is on Miami. 34% of all the tickets are on Cleveland. Okay? So, now let's take a look at, you can click on this. Okay, when this line opened on 11/17, it opened up at Miami plus 12.5 minus 130. And then minus 12.5 plus 110 for Cleveland. And you can see that the majority of the wagers were on Miami. So if the majority of the wagers and money is on Miami, what does that mean? That means that this line is going to be less favorable. Does that make sense? You say, why is that? Well, it's because if the money's on Miami and they have all this money on Miami, the sportsbook need to make this line over here more attractive so they can get more money on Cleveland. Now, for you, the sports bettor, let's make it realistic. Let's go over here to, these are our power rankings. Let's look at our, so we have this game, looks like we have Cleveland at basically minus 1, Cleveland minus 1, okay? So let's say you had already done your handicapping maybe before the line comes out or close to that and thought like, hey, okay, I think I'm going to play Miami here. So, and let's say you look at this consensus history and notice immediately that 100% of the money is on Miami at plus 12.5. We can already, or at this point, regardless of seeing any of this information, we know from here moving forward that this Miami line is going down. Okay, so you as a sports bettor, if your handicap and said, hey, I'm going to play Miami, this would be the time to play it, because look what's happened now. Since then, this line's moved from 12.5 plus 12.5 down to plus 2.5, 10.5. So you have lost 2 points by waiting. Okay, so most of the time when a line opens up, you want to play favorites early and dogs late. But in this situation, because the line was so favorable for Miami, if you're going to play Miami, the time to play it would have been early. Okay, now let's talk about another thing. Exit out of here. So, like I've always told you guys, that fading the public is going to be the way to go more times than not. So now Miami is the public team. They have a majority of the tickets, and the reason I know they have a majority of the money, tickets do not make the line move. Money makes the line move. So if the majority of the money is on Miami, the sportsbook have to move the line down so that they can get more money on Cleveland, so it will even the action out. Now, here's the thing. So you have, and more times than not, majority of sharp bettors bet when. They bet early, or they're line watchers. A ton of action in NFL comes in when? On Sunday, right? That's when the amateurs and all the squares bet. So if somebody's betting this game, I'm recording this video on a Thursday night before Sunday, so somebody's going to play Miami now. Look what happens. They basically lose 2.5 points. Whereas if you were going to play Cleveland, you actually pick up 2 points. So instead of having to lay 12.5, you only have to lay 10.5. That's why we always talk about fade to public. Well, that's why. Because the value is on the Cleveland side now. Okay? And this is basic line movement. When you see majority of the wagers on this particular team, and you see the line going against them, that's basic line movement. That means there's nothing fishy or nothing crazy going on. So they got majority of the tickets on Miami, majority of the money's on Miami, so the sportsbook have to move this line down to make it attractive to get some money on Cleveland. Okay? But again, going back to my point here, when this line opens up and you have intentions on playing Miami and you see 100% of the wagers are on Miami, you damn better believe that this line's going down. Okay? So if you were going to play it, that would have been the time to play it. Okay? All right. And let's look at this Denver-Buffalo game. 53% of the tickets are on Denver. 47% of the tickets are on Buffalo. Okay? Now, if it started out Buffalo +5 and it's gone all the way down to 3.5 to 4, what does that tell you? Basic line movement. Majority of the tickets are on Denver. Majority of the money is on Denver, right? Because, okay, we got the sports books look at it this way. Okay, we got majority of people playing Denver at this point. We have to move the line so we can get some money on Buffalo. Now, we'll tell you this. Here's another thing. Sports books are way smart. People talk about, slamming the bookie and beating the bookie. Well, they're way smarter at setting lines than all of us are. They are. Maybe not some of the sharps, myself included at times. They will get me at times as well. But sometimes they already anticipate where the public is going to go. Does that make sense? Which means before they lay the line, they know the popular teams. They know the public loves favorites. They love the Patriots, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes they will bait, so to speak, a team and shade that line from the beginning, so because they know that's where the public's going to go, let the public drive the line down to where it probably should be, and you'll see that at times as well. Okay, so let's move. We'll move here to the Giants here. Giants 60% of the wagers. Chicago 40% of the wagers. Line opens at 7.5. And where does the line go? It goes against the Giants. That means 60% of the tickets are on Giants. Majority of the money was on the Giants, so that means the lines went from 7.5 to 6. It's less attractive for the Giants. And again, like we talk about fading the public, so you don't have to pay 7.5 for the Chicago. You can now lay -6. Okay. Now, and let's go ahead and let's look at this. Look at the line movement. Yep. See, same deal here. So when this line opens, the consensus history, you can see here 11-17, 748, plus 7.5, -130, 100% of the tickets. This line's going down. See what I'm saying? So if you have any intentions of playing the Giants, the time to play the Giants would have been early, even though they were the dog. Because now you're getting, whoops, I didn't take that all the way through. Now you're getting, now it's only +6, where you could have gotten 7.5. Okay? All right, let's look at this Oakland Jets game. Now we have, this is pretty close to even ticket-wise. So we have 51% of the tickets on the Jets, 49% of the tickets on Oakland. So if we have even amounts of tickets and even amounts of money, then the line should not move, right? Well, it did. Okay? So what does that tell you? That means, so the line moved in favor of who here? It actually moved in favor of the Oakland. Okay? So it means, okay, so let's look at this. So it was open up at Jets plus 4.5. Now it's Jets plus 3. Was Oakland minus 4.5. Now it's Oakland minus 3. Actually, they said 4. I think that was an error there. Should have been 3.5. Okay, so let's look at this. So immediately when this opens, you can see the Jets were plus 3.5. And remember that 3 is a very important number in football. So we have 83% of the tickets on Jets, 17% on Oakland at that first line when the first line came out right here. So now what does that mean? We can anticipate this line is going to move against the Jets and in favor of Oakland. Okay, look at 842. Same deal here. 39%, 61%. They continue to take money here at 60-40. It's staying at 3 till finally, if you look around, 11, is that the next day? Yeah, the next day, right around here at 1:30, they finally bumped it down to 2.5. So this would be a case where if you were looking to play Oakland and you saw this immediately here where it said plus 3.5, 83%, you can anticipate that the line is going to improve for Oakland, right? Whereas if you planned on playing the Jets and you see 83% here, you can make the assumption, hey, this is the time to play the Jets because it looks like the public is on the Jets and the line will move, and it did. So, and I thought this was interesting too, that since that 2.5 is so popular, notice this particular book here, when the line hit 2.5, they bumped the juice up to 130 because they knew the sharps would hammer it here, and they did. And so it's actually moved back to 3 now. So 3.5 to 3, and now it's Oakland minus 3. So this would be an example of some reverse line movement because it looks like we got equal amounts of money, but the line moved in favor of Oakland in this one. Okay, let's scroll down. Let's look at the Atlanta-Tampa Bay game. We have Atlanta 57% of the tickets, Tampa Bay 43% of the tickets. Okay, so now this is interesting here. So the line opens, looks like they got even money on both sides, or close to even action. 53% played Atlanta minus 4, 47% played Tampa. So again, this would be a situation to where, yeah, it moved up. So if you see this and you want to play Tampa Bay, you could, let's see, did it move? Yeah, it didn't really move that much from the beginning, actually. So you see here it went from minus 4, and then we've got, now it bumped here at 4.5, went back to 4, and now it's leveled out to plus 4. So the key thing to look at here throughout this all this movement here, and usually when I'm playing my football games, it's what I call I like for the lines to be seasoned. And what I mean by that, the way I do it, because I've told you guys this before, I'm not going to sit in front of a computer all day. It's just not my thing. But I will go back and look at this movement. So if I'm looking at this now, I can see here, okay, we got 53% of the tickets on Atlanta, 47% on Tampa Bay. Now look what happens. We've got 57% of the tickets on Atlanta, but 43% on Tampa. So what does that tell you? That tells you we got a lot of sharp money in here, because if the majority of the money and tickets were on Atlanta, this line should be minus 4.5, minus 5, right? But the line, since it opened, in essence, hasn't moved. It's still Tampa Bay plus 4. So that tells you, even though the majority of tickets are on Atlanta, we've got a lot of sharp money over here. Because if the money wasn't balanced, then the sports books would make an adjustment. Does that make sense? Meaning, if there was a lot of money on Atlanta, more than Tampa, they would have to make this more attractive for Tampa. So it might be plus 4.5, even plus 5. So this is an indication of what we call reverse line movement. Even though you don't really see it, you see it in the actual tickets itself. Because this line, if the majority of money was on Atlanta, then of course the line would move, and it hasn't. Okay, so that's one thing I'll keep in mind about playing Tampa. And let's go tie this into our power rankings here. And of course, yeah, there it is. So Tampa and Atlanta, we have basically handicapped at even. So if we handicap at even, we're getting, 4 points to our favor there. Okay? And let's see, moving along here. And again, this is, basic line movement. When you see this, 66% of the tickets. And see, this is how you become really educated. So if you just look at this you can do this for any sport. Okay? You can do this for WNBA, hockey, soccer, whatever. All the teams, all this is relevant. If I'm looking here and I see 66% of the tickets here, 34% here, and I see the line open at +3 and now it's down, well, that tells me right there this is clearly a public team. That means we got 66% of the wagers on Seattle. Majority of the money is on Seattle, right? Because if the Sharps would come in and play Philadelphia, then this line would have stayed the same like it did up here for Tampa, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So there's that one. And then let's look at the Dallas, New England. Again, same deal. You got a lot of sharp money on both sides on this one. Opened up 53%, opened up at +7 for Dallas. -7 New England. Now it's gone down to 6.5 here. Okay. So when you see a game like this, you'll see me play a lot of games like this. You can make the assumption we've got even tickets and pretty much even money. This line really hasn't moved that much. Okay. All right. So that's just a quick overview of line movement. If you got any questions about that, let me know. But again, to sort of review, majority of the tickets are on a team, and that line moves against them, and here it does, +12.5 all the way down to 10.5. It moved against them, right? Because the best line for Miami was +12.5. That means not only the majority of tickets are on Miami, majority of the money's on Miami. Okay? And we go here to, where's our game at? Yeah, Tampa Bay. So we got Atlanta. So if the majority of tickets are on Atlanta and the majority of money's on Atlanta, then this line should move against Atlanta. It should go -4.5, even up to maybe -5. It did not. So even though there's only 43% of the tickets on Tampa Bay, that means we've got sharp money and what we call, even though you don't see the line movement at all, you still call this reverse line movement because it doesn't move at all, even though it should because majority of tickets are on Atlanta. But that means you've got a lot of sharp money here on the Tampa side. Okay? Any questions, let me know. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Peace.